Hello. How it is? Are you liking PS5? Hello, Yuki. Unfortunately, I do not have a PlayStation 5, but Persona 5. Oh, my mistake. I am really enjoying Persona 5. So at the time of recording, I've really enjoyed Persona 5. I really like the dynamic that is Futaba Sakura. I do sympathize with the idea that like at a young age, um, she experienced trauma and she blames herself for that trauma. She blames that she's the cause of it, and that's normal under those circumstances because when you're a kid, you feel like you didn't do enough to save your parents. You would think that you did something wrong as a child, and then that would make your parents angry to that point in their life. Oh no, it's not that. Like, I'm really tempted to try find the safe room right now. Like, I've been streaming for 8 hours, but hey, don't you worry. I should be streaming again on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I should be streaming again, and I can probably play more Persona 5. I really enjoyed what I've been doing so far today, so I'm really excited to jump back to Persona 5 on Wednesday, and I'm expecting myself to have like a another. I'm expecting to to export an emote for you guys, so hopefully you guys can enjoy the emote. Um, yeah, I'm really enjoying the progress and the idea that we're trying to save Futaba from herself is a really deep dive into what we have to do as individuals. Like, if a lot of the hard hitting subjects that Persona as a genre is hitting is really important. Futaba, for example, is a she she didn't have the appropriate help that she's had. She is not given the appropriate tools to help herself out of her her like um, situation. She's experienced a trauma that was hard to like nurture nurture. Um, Sanjuro Sakura had the chance, did everything he could to help take care of Futaba, but he doesn't have the resources. So the best thing he can do is just comply to what she says at the time. And Futaba is really hoping that the resources from the Phantom Thieves can help her overcome her trauma because like she is so filled with guilt. She's very filled with guilt with the idea that it's her fault as a child to cause her mom to die at a very young age. At a very young age, her mother died, and she blames herself. Normally, kids under those pretenses wouldn't know if they did something wrong to make them upset. They don't know if they could have done something else to make their parents happy. They think a child in trauma would assume that like they did something wrong to the point of her parents causing suicide, and without proof of product, so would the third party. Third parties would assume that something in house caused the suicide. They would assume something job related or in house, and the only person in house at the time was Futaba as a young child. You don't know her working status prior to the suicide, so people would assume X and Y. So that is a lot of stress on Futaba. And I have yet to see how Futaba manifests her persona, but I'm very well assuming that her persona is based technologically and surveillance. But the fact that her guilt has manifested into the form of Wakanabe, was it Waka, what's the character's name? Um, uh, Wakanabe? Watanabe. No, not Watanabe. It it's what's her name? Wakaba Ishiki. Wakabi Ishiki. Wakabi is that Wakabi Ishiki? What I'm looking for? Wakabe Ish, Wakaba Ishiki is the mother of Futaba, and at the time of like the death, no one knows what Wakaba um, Ishiki went through to the point of that apparent end, and it's a mental like it's an analysis and psychosis as to what depression goes through, to where you hate yourself because an X situation happened. The worst case scenario has happened in a drama, and you blame yourself, so you hate yourself because Futaba at the moment hates herself. I think because of what happened to Wakaba Ishiki. So I'm hoping by the on Wednesday we'll get to see how the Wednesday or this week we'll get to see how we get a deep dive into like how Futaba is doing, and we'll get to save her. I've yet to play this. I was excited when I got it and wanted to stream it, but sadly I had no capture card. So I'm glad you're enjoying this game. Thank you so much. I'm If you haven't yet to play this, I'm very sorry ahead of time if I do spoil things, because back in college I was pursuing a sociology major, psychology major, what and one of the huge things that I tried to like venture into is child development, and this is a huge thing when it comes to child development. Kids are really big sponges, but because they're so unfiltered, and because kids are so sponge like, they will take things very literally and they will take things personally. Children, and so I'm taking Futaba's situation very extreme, but the idea that Futaba's situation is so extreme to where she witnessed her mother's death, and like in the psychosis and analysis of a child development I like frame, it's really extreme to where at the time, with adults yelling at a 6-year-old child that they are being blamed for the death of their mother, I feel a lot of emotions for Futaba, because that is a situation that would create the worst possible outcome for a child going through that situation. I saw most of the gameplay of PS5, though I missed out on Futaba's Palace. Yes, so I've yet to explore Futaba's Palace already. This is everything that I'm saying right now is based on what I've learned in the past 4 hours, which is pre-exploration. So you learned the background of Sanjuro. You learned that he took custody of Futaba because of the situation with Ishiki, and then he is trying to be a loyal guardian to take care of Futaba. And normally someone that goes through post-traumatic stress or PTSD has a really hard time to dealing it with their own, much less their own community is trying to like help them. The only community that Futaba only has is Sanjuro, because I would assume after the events of the death, I'm assuming she went through processing, and Futaba didn't feel like she was able to open to anyone because they kept attacking her. Adults before Sanjuro kept attacking her, blaming her for the death, and so as a defense mechanism, Futaba felt it was appropriate to push people away so that she doesn't get hurt, that no one gets hurt, and both parties are isolated. Isolating both parties is what she probably felt like was the best decision to live her life. If she doesn't cause a problem for them, she doesn't cause a problem for herself, then that's how she's going to feel like it's appropriate to live. And at a young age, if you develop that defense mechanism, it's really hard to get out of when you're older. And Sanjuro doesn't have the resources. The best he can do as a guardian is to just do what she wants, because he wouldn't want to press and force her to do a change, because what he desires is for her to have a normal high school life again. She wants her to have a normal life. He wants her to be with people, to talking with people, be outside, be with people in the community. But the problem is when she got raised, trauma hits you very differently, and it's a case by case scenario. And I'm really hoping, and I know it's gonna happen very happy ever after, but because I'm very new to what's happening with Futaba, during this week or next week, I'm very excited to see how we save her, how the protagonist and the Phantom Thieves ultimately teach her. Eventually, I don't know how persona magic's gonna work, but hopefully by the end of it, the experience in the Mind Palace teaches her how to love herself, because that's the situation with her particular trauma. Is the fact she is filled with so much hate for herself that she shuts herself in, that she feels she deserves to die because she caused the death. But the problem is, it's not her fault. You can't blame a child for doing things. When children are being raised, they are exploring. They are trying to learn new things. They're trying to see, does this work? Does this not work? Does this taste bad? Does this taste good? Is saying this good? Is saying this bad? They don't have the cognitive capacity to know what's right and what's wrong, which is why most people feel like you're a better adult to experience this if you're in your 20s and in your mid 20s, early 20s, because you've taken the time to develop your mental capacity. You had time to develop who you are and how to educate yourself. But for her, her life started as an adult right at 6 years old because trauma happened and she couldn't control it. And so when it comes to child development, not a lot of people understand that. Well, a lot of people do, but not a lot of people understand that you need time and patience to teach anyone and everyone how to get better. And it may get hard and will be frustrating if the time that you take to take care of someone may drag out. And a lot of people have lost a cause. A lot of people would lose a battle, lose a war, if there's no time and patience. And Futaba is a really good example of they're physically going into her mind and physically fighting to help her get through her trauma. This is the most lobotomizing that they can do for this particular trauma. But then again, it is just Persona 5 and how they portray the myth and legends of the mementos. I've gone on a very huge tangent for Persona 5 and how it relates to child development and sociology. I'm very sorry. But we're going to end the stream today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show at the time of recording. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, my name's Tyler. I'm your friend. And I'll see you next time. Bye.